and state-owned. And so you must look at this as now a true within the United States, a civil war that is coming. We're not necessarily fighting for the capital, two factions. We're fighting for the heart and soul. The Articles of Confederation, I think, were stronger than the Constitution. Certainly the Confederate Constitution was much stronger and a better Constitution in many ways than our own, the one we have today. But I'm willing to go with this Constitution, at least until it can be tweaked and fixed, and not through constitutional conventions, but through Continental Congress, representatives coming together. But nonetheless, we've got to keep it so that we've got a country at all to fight for.
Well, what they are trying to do right now, and I think we should talk about this on this half. You've just put out a notice about some things that are going down. Now there have been some disturbing moves in this last year with the NDAA, the National Defense Act, Authorization Act, and they're really turning up the pressure. They've issued what, hollow point ammunition, 400 billions of rounds.
Yes.
In state, they are preparing, and they're really getting the troops that are obviously they're brainwashed, psyched up to go after. So the UN gun control thing is floating about out there, and I believe they've tried to demonize the Tea Party movement, which are people about our age, and then they've really escalated with this shooting and everything else. Their attack on gun owners. Something big is coming up. Something big is coming up, I feel, and the information that you've got is warning us about that too. And I also want to get some input here. Is what can we do about it? My answer was the Liberty Villages, and staff it with veterans to protect the place, restore family farms, and you know, one teepee you can get for $5,000. That'll house 6 homeless veterans, and return for pulling the weeds, milking the goats, and defending the place if this all goes to shit within the next 6 months.
I agree with you. I think that's a good plan. I'll just tell you, because of everything else I'm doing, I'm training around the country, and I write a lot and all that stuff, and I just have not had the time to zero in on some efforts like yours, and I like what you're doing. I think it's certainly timely and it's appropriate. But I have to tell you this, not as a preface to what I just said or an afterthought, but simply it overrides everything that we've been talking about today, and that is constant contact with law enforcement at all levels. I've got a couple in the federal level that are good people. I know them, and I'll say this: I trust them, and that's hard for me to say because I don't trust virtually anything about government. But I do them, and there are state troopers and sheriffs across the country that are calling me constantly, telling me that the levels of training, the preparation, the onboard computers that have a special CD that's locked away in their evidence safe in the trunk, that's being checked on a weekly basis by a supervisor. If they've opened it in any way, they are immediately terminated. This, to me, is a doomsday or end-of-the-world scenario that they've put on these. I'm guessing at this now. I've not been told. But from our discussion with them, and I believe that if something were to happen to their state headquarters or their sheriff's office or whatever it is, that they would be able to operate independently in the field. Now, you and I understand military tactics well enough to know that if everything was cool, and the world was all right with itself, this would be a good way to run the circus, but not the way it's being run now. And with the immediate absorption of sheriff's deputies and state troopers and others, who will immediately be part of a national plan through the marshal's office They have gotten it so that if there is a martial law declared, one sheriff in Wisconsin told me I can have the interstate system in my county shut down in 4 minutes. I can be in place, ready to go, whatever it takes, and he's also on a state border, and we're looking at unprecedented amounts of money that have gone into training, into equipment, vast amounts of equipment, arms, ammunition, military equipment, the more exotic microwave and sonic weapons, all of this being amassed by departments across the country. For what reason? We have 3,300 counties, Clay, in the country, roughly. There are enough drones now being either put in the air or being assembled at this moment to average 10 drones per county. Now, surveillance drones? Not for a minute. I don't believe it. Will they have the capability? Sure. But the idea is that they're up there to target and to eventually, and some of them are now, carrying ordnance loads for the reason of going to war with the American people at such time as somebody somewhere says, do it. We have been backed into a police state, top to bottom. I was a career law enforcement officer. I believed in my oath. I took the oath in the military. I took it police work. I believed it. I've never been relieved of it, and I am standing firm that the enemy I'm most concerned with now is not somewhere in the Mideast, but is right here in this country. It is the domestic enemy.
Now they are trying to set us up. I've said this whole Occupy thing is trying to put the people at odds with the police by trying to paint the Occupier, these protesters. Why aren't the police marching with them?
That's correct. They should be.
I mean, let's put a bunch of people together and surround them with police and walk into the Federal Reserve and arrest them for stealing, $63 trillion that they found in overseas accounts. Now, this is all happening right now, folks. This is out, but it's not happening here. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in Spain. It's happening in Iceland. They are arresting the bankers. They are arresting the people that have defrauded the people. We've lost over 1 million homes. 1 million Americans have been made homeless. As far as I know, I have the only real plan to put Americans back to work, back in low-cost shelters, grow your own food, generate your own energy, and tell the bankers to take a hike.
Well, that's, and I respect, you mentioned Iceland, and I respected so what Iceland did a year or so back when they reached that critical mass moment. They just simply said, no, we're not going to do it your way, bankers. We're going to do the way that it's always proven to be correct. We're taking control. You're out. The government will not foreclose on us, and on the story went. And Iceland still has some issues, but they at least broke the mold. They stepped out of that world elite banker cabal crap, and they said, we're going to do it our way, which is best for our people. Now, when the Americans decide that they're going to do that as well, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but if they did, it would be liberation, Clay, immediate relief to landowners and mortgage holders and all the rest of them. It simply must be done, but I'm not holding my breath. It will be.
Matter of fact, I used that same term when I was talking about the banksters. They're criminals. They're criminals, and this is a worldwide cabal. It ain't the Russian mafia. I tell people there's two things I can't tell you. I can't tell you if the mafia took over the government or if the government took over the mafia.
Yeah. God help the mafia if the government took them over.
Now, how do we defend? I've said one of the problems that we really have is how do you fight evil without becoming evil, and that's kind of what happened to me. What I see happened in Germany. They got out of Germany. They were driven out by their own people, although they didn't know that. They were driven out of Germany and Russia into Palestine to become the invaders. And they become worse than the Nazis or the Stasi that drove them there. Another generation.
Well, Clay, I think you hit the nail squarely on the head. And you know, I've tried intellectually, and with the information I've gotten, I'm not the brightest bulb in the pack, but I have tried to do what I can to figure this out. And the only thing I can come up with is that, now this is my personal belief system here, that this is an ongoing level of repetition at the government level with the people that not only make policy, but more importantly, control the money, as Bauer said, Rothschild. I care not about the laws, just let me control the money and I've got the nation. It is true. And we have seen over and over and over through 12 major civilizations since the dawn of time that we're aware of. And as a result, we are in one of the last stage of this current civilization. It is because of corruptness. And Clay, I just believe that there is an intrinsic, personal evil that invades the heart and soul of men when they lust for certain things in the world. And most will lust generally and most consistently over money. You'll have short-term lust over a woman, you'll have short-term lust over this or that, but long-term, it's money and power. And that is why we are again where we are, and there is no cure for that except for in the morality of the people that is constantly placed at the head of the table. It cannot be that we're just going to let somebody out there because he's a nice guy run things. Now, he's got to be moral, he's got to be upstanding, and he's got to understand true personal freedom as well as national freedom. And we don't have that. We don't have anyone on site or on scene that's going to do that. I'm sorry to tell you.
Well, Ron Paul tried, but he was derailed. You may remember Charles Collins. He was running for president and wanting to take on the Federal Reserve. I worked with him. I was his driver, bodyguard, and speechwriter, I guess.
Yeah.
And he never got, nobody ever knew he was running because every time he got up on stage at the Republican conventions, every cameraman turned the camera off and pointed it at the ground. So how do we get around that if we don't know who's an honest presidential candidate? And I've had somebody on from a new party, but third parties don't get it, and both of the two parties we got are corrupted. Charlie Reese did a great story on the 545 people that are responsible for all this crap, and it ain't the lobbyists, it ain't the oil companies, it's the congressmen and the senators out there. And how many of our congressmen and senators are members of the National Socialist Party? I think I've got a list on there, on my site somewhere.
Well, Clay, one of the most famous lines, it's played back every now and then during the time that Ronald Reagan was running for president, and I hold out no special love for Ronald Reagan, but it was when he said, "I paid for this microphone." And that simple excerpt of that larger sentence he made about who's in control here says it all. Whether it was Ronald Reagan, the Republicans, or Jimmy Carter and the Democrats, or whoever it was, there is at the source, Clay, it is not a consortium of people that come together and say, this is what we need. This is true voting majority, and I'm sorry if you don't like our answer. Well, then move down the road and start up a friendly neighborhood of your own, and we'll be happy for you. But you're clearly not happy here, so move on. That's your right to do, or it used to be. And but it's always been controlled. It's been controlled by the elite within the parties that are driven by the elite from Europe and around the world. There may be 50,000 is estimated total people of the elite crowd out of 6.5, almost 7 billion people, and we're sitting here dancing to their tune, wearing the Star of David on the front of our jacket because we're the slaves, we're the labeled, we're the whatever, any symbol you want. Unfortunately, the American flag is becoming a symbol of slavery now, and so whatever it is, how did we get here? How did we allow this to happen? How do we continue to allow this to happen? And when are we going to say that is it? Clay, I'm at that point. And whatever it costs me, if it costs me my job, my home, my status, whatever I have, then that's what it's going to cost me, because I will not go any further.
I agree with that. Matter of fact, I just put up an adoption of Patrick Henry's speech when this country was formed. I just put that up on my website. I also have your banner up. And, you know, what's happened to the Patriot movement? When I started the Free American, I intended to give everybody a space at the table. You know, I wanted to tell people about Bo Gratz, about Leonard Horowitz, about, you know, about what happened to Randy Weaver, and especially what happened to the people at Waco. You know, I mean, that was just that was my wake-up call. I won't sit back and watch something like that happen again.
Yes.
And the next thing I know, Bo Gratz is trying to burn my magazine because I happened to mention that, you know, there's two ways to look at what happened. He saved Randy Weaver, or he arrested him for the FBI.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened with the Patriot movement. I mean, a lot of people have moved into you know, oh, well, you're a child molester. You smoke dope. You do this. You do, you know. They're fighting against each other. It's divide and conquer, and they put them out. You know, the intelligence agencies, they hire these guys to come in to try to stop anything that we're doing.
I couldn't agree more, and I have far more to look over my shoulder with when I'm concerned about who's coming up on my 180 here. But I'm looking at the church. I'm looking at those that profess to be Christians. I'm looking at those who are in some cases, I'm sorry to say, in the Tea Party movement, or in the end, because it's again a matter of control. I have no problem with the Tea Party concept. I have the problem with some of those within it, and it's a handful, but nonetheless it's an issue of having to control it their way for their purpose, and not the general better purpose of what we as God-fearing, sovereignty-believing Christians, Americans, who some happen to be Christians, are believing in and are pursuing. Look, Clay, it's been lost. And so for me, now I'm 62, going to be 63. I am no longer looking at making some big splash, not that I ever did, but seeing the splash, I should say, of corrected American behavior and goals. What I'm looking at, frankly, is saying, I've done my best. I've dedicated 35 years, 40 years of my life to seeing that the truth be put out there, and that people understand what they're up against, and give them a way to fight for something that truly is meaningful. That's what my family has done since the Revolution, and put their time in the service and whatever. Clay, I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting something that clearly, and so I want to be a part of just a small group that's willing to operate on those precepts, and that I can go to my last days thinking at least I live free to the end.
You know, the way I'm 66, and when I started the concept of Liberty Villages in the centerfold of the Free American almost 10 years ago, yes. I actually believe that's the reason they tried to kill me, Greg, as opposed to the obvious scam of 9/11.
I absolutely agree.
And I have an opportunity right now. You know, I've got some little different beliefs. I mean, than your average Christian. I think they promoted Jesus as God in 236 A.D. because they didn't want men like you and I aspiring to be the kind of man he was. And we really have a chance. I think we've got a chance to do this. Here is, and with the Liberty Village concept, I can't run Liberty Villages nationwide. I can be responsible for one, and I'm going to do that in Texas. We have 40 acres in Texas that the gentleman wants to put the first Liberty Village on. And this gentleman happens to build something called Tiny Texas Houses. And he's invited me to come down there and set up Liberty Villages. I am trying to do that now. We also have 160 acres up there in Oklahoma and that's controlled by Paul Pantone, who builds the GEAT systems. Every Liberty Village would have a GEAT shop. Every Liberty Village would have a building there to to construct solar and wind generators. And we've got sources for solar. And so you buy a half-size house for half price that's built better than anything out there. You put it on an acre of land and just outside of San Antonio and Austin, down there in hill country in Texas. Right. Or anywhere. In Oklahoma, they want teepees. We have teepees, yurts, and tiny Texas houses on the menu right now. We can also put you in touch with the people that build geodesic domes. And folks, if you can grow your own food in cooperation with your next door neighbor, this whole concept I'm talking about, I envision it in a farm or a ranch setting. Just set, you got 100 acres there, set off 5 acres so you can teach somebody how to farm, how to grow their own food, how to be self-sufficient. And you know, the people that aren't into farming, you can assemble the solar panels and the wind generators over in this area right here. I would now once this one is set up in Texas and Oklahoma, and we've got people you know, all over the country. All I'm asking people to for right now is send me an application. Tell me what you can do, what you can contribute, and where you want to live, and how you want to live. Right. Now this whole plan will work. 1 square block. If you got out and knocked on every neighbor's door in the 1 block, took a flyer out and said, look, we're going to do a Liberty Village on this block. If we get 10 neighbors to sign up for this, we're going to show you how to grow food in your backyard. We're going to show you how to put solar and wind on your home, and your home will start paying you. This is, I think it's really pretty simple, you know. And if we start getting people together, then we can also cut out the main source of our trouble, and that's the bank, because we can become self-financing. If you buy a teepee for $5,000, put a generator for $3,000 on or $4,000 on the outside it, solar generator. Guess what? Right. You have become independent.
Yes, you have.
Now, I want to set this up as a covenant community. You can't grow GMO foods. You buy heritage seeds, and we will keep the GEAT generators under 50% efficiency, so the feds don't come in and bust us under their national security laws that they passed to protect the oil companies.
That's correct.
And also, folks, I mean, we got people out there that can build magnetic generators, but if you build a magnetic generator in your garage and hook it up to the power system, the feds will come in and take you away. That's a violation of national security. That's why at the Tesla conference we didn't have any magnetic generators there.
And that's a shame, because as we all know, Tesla was far beyond Einstein in my view, and he. Everything was stolen and corrupted by the government. Well, they've got it. They know about it and they use it, but only for the government.
Right. They don't want you to have it. Now, what I'm proposing here is Patriots Working Day. You know, I walked in the FBI office, and after they passed the Homegrown Terrorism Act, which led to the fusion centers, which is the federal control over the local police.
That is right. Well, you know, I called the U.S. Attorney's office and I said, I want to know if you have a file on me in there, and I want to know what you're going to do with it. And the gal that answered was so thunderstruck she didn't know what to do. She handed me off to an assistant, and well, we don't think there's nothing. But I said, you tell the U.S. Attorney, here's my number, here's my address. If he's got something he wants to talk to me about, give me a call. And that was 2 years ago, and I've not heard from him. Now that doesn't mean they don't have it. But I just said, nah, you know what? I'm not going to play this game. I'm not. It's not duck and cover here. It's. I want man to man. What are you doing? Because when I leave this sector of life, in terms of how I live, where I live, and so forth, it will be as a free man, Clay.
Well, what I'm proposing to you, you've got a talk show. Everybody on Patriot Radio is afraid to have me on. Get on the board of directors now. We've got Dr. Dr. Jake Wade, he runs the Timothy Bible College. He also runs a Little Red Schoolhouse. So every home, whether it's on a Liberty Village, will have its own power generating system, have its own windmill, have its own solar, and have a connection so you can educate your children, or you. I'm working on my master's degree with Timothy Bible College right now. You can do that out of your home. We can cut down on the travel. We can do other fuel. We can. I mean, you if you're running water around your place, if you got the right to the water. But look,
That's
you know,
right.
people will, and the only complaints I get about this, the only criticism I get is, well, you know, they won't let you do that. They won't let me grow my own food. They won't let me use the sun and the wind and the water that falls on my place. Then I'm sorry, we got to fight.
Yes, we do. Check your calendar, Clay, for, I don't know what you're doing Labor Day, but I have a show that night on Monday, is it the 3rd or September?
Okay.
Make sure you send me your contact information if we didn't cross it in the emails here. And you can be my guest that night. I'd love to have you on.
Great. I'll do that. And,
All right, sir.
you know, meanwhile, you know, I've got books to sell. And we got to get this village thing. All you got to do, folks, all you got to do is send me an email and just tell me. Give me a resume. Tell me who you are, what you want to do. I mean, we're going to need mechanics. We're going to need the people to install the gates. We're going to need people. We're getting contracts to tear down buildings, tear down structures, and we use that material to build the smaller houses.
Clay, I would just ask that anyone interested, we can link you up or help you out. My website, theheartlandusa.com. We have a complete training series there for people that don't know what to do, Clay. We just finally got so aggravated with the request we could not fill. We've got something here. So people, look, check it out. And let's help Clay as well get this thing off the ground. This sounds like a very worthy project. Clay, it's been great to be with you. I'm looking at the clock here. We don't have much time left. Thanks, and make sure you contact me so we can get you on that show.
I will, and if you check out Free American website, this show is up, and under your name is the link for the show on Blog Talk Radio. You can download it as an MP3 file to your default player there, and sure. I've got the banner up for Heartland. And
yeah, it is the Heartland, THE, the Heartland USA.
Yes, sir. The links are up there. Your banner's up there. I saw your little thing on during the banners, and yep. It's up on my site. It'll remain up on my site. Right beside, I think I'll put you right beside Sheriff Mac's sheriff's posse thing there.
Well, Richie Mack's a very close friend of mine, and he's trying.
Yes, he is.
Look, Clay, man, listen, stand firm. I know you will. Stand tall like you've always done, and don't quit, because we need you now more than ever.
I'm right there, and you can't lose if you never quit.
That's exactly right. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye now.
Yep.
Call recording has been completed.
Cool. I did it. I did it. What have we got time left here? What have we got left? All right. Almost done that. And got somebody else on the board of directors of Liberty Villages. Like to have police advisors on this, because it ain't us against the cops. I mean, the cops standing side by side fighting this whole